Hey folks, thanks so much for joining today. I'm really honored to be able to share this time with you. And as was prefaced by this whole thing, delivering happiness, talk about what it really means to really instill and apply the principles of positive psychology, the science of happiness, mix that up with culture, and how that can affect your business for your own team, for yourself, for your employees, and ultimately your bottom line. So thinking about, thank you PNC for bringing this to you, because I think it's really coming from a place of, like, how can we take all these concepts that really mean intuitively, makes sense, but how do you actually apply it so that it's not just living it, but you're actually sustaining it over time? So whether you're a small business, big business, just starting, or been around the ringer, I think all these things and concepts could actually apply to what you're doing today. So if I back up a little bit, and my time at Zappos, when I was a consultant there, back in the day when they were a startup, all the way through to Delivering Happiness, which is a company, as mentioned, Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, and I co-founded it back in 2010. If I was to try and summarize all of that, it would really just come back to one simple equation, and that is, if you have happier employees, you'll have happier customers, and you'll actually then have a more profitable and sustainable business. But more importantly, what we're also doing now as companies is that we're creating meaningful lives. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but I'd ask you to keep that equation in your mind as the framing of everything that I'll be talking about. So when I say that equation, most people say, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's intuitive. But then the biggest question I get now is how? How do you actually not just put that in place, but actually how do you sustain that over time? Again, towards a sustainable and profitable business. So before I go there, I just wanted to kind of put a poll out there. If you were to guess what percentage of people are unhappy in the world right now, in the whole world's workforce, what would that be? So maybe think about the number in your mind, 20, 40, 60, 80%, whatever that might be. And I'll come back to that in a little bit. And then this question is actually directed to you as an individual. If you were to say, can you predict your own personal, long-term sustainable happiness? Would you say yes? So I ask that question everywhere I go around the world, actually. And it's astounding because, you know, it's been 7 years of going around to different countries, and it never fails. Only 1 to 5% of the room raises their hand. And for me, it begs the question, why? Because I actually feel, you know, we're pretty lucky. We've had a lot of technological advances, socioeconomic ones as well. And so it has to, you know, bring up this question of, like, why are we fundamentally unhappy at work as a society, as a global society? Because this thing of happiness is actually not a new concept at all. There was a dude by the name of Aristotle back in 200 BC, and what he said was actually that happiness is the purpose of our existence, but more importantly, he said happiness is dependent on ourselves. And we see it all the time, right? It's in our Declaration of Independence. So what does this all mean, and how do we address it? So first I wanted to bring up some real-world examples. We've got Renee, you see there in the top right-hand corner. She just received her financial statement for Merrill Lynch, thinking if she saved for her 401k, she'd be a happy girl, but unfortunately this was not the case. And then you've got Ina on the bottom left there, who's my goddaughter. Let's just say she's not happy because she had a rough night the night before. But seriously though, I just wanted to say in this question to you, if you ask yourself, what are your own personal goals? And what's interesting about this question is that no matter who you are, how you answer it, I want a successful company. I want to raise a family. I want to be healthier. If you ask yourself why enough times, it usually comes back to the same answer, which is, I want to be happy, or I want to make sure the people that I love are happy too. So what's interesting is that, and I want to caveat, when I talk about happiness, it's about the science of it and positive psychology. So this is real data that we've seen come out of not just focusing on what's wrong with us, but focusing on what's right with us. And so according to all this data, it shows that we as human beings are actually hardwired to seek happiness, yet we're really, really bad at predicting how to sustain it. So as an example, we see lottery winners, and first we're like, yeah, of course, they'll be happy, but now we know their happiness levels stay the same, or actually peter down over time. But what's interesting is that the inverse is true, and what we've seen in people that actually lose their sight or use of their limbs, their happiness levels actually stay the same or increase over time.